All right, gang, we're going to talk antennas, specifically omnidirectional antennas right now. Again, what does it mean to be an omnidirectional antenna? It means you're going to position the antenna in the center, roughly, of where you want your clients to be able to access it, assuming a radiation signal out in all directions. You may have multiple of these antennae with different access points in a repeater configuration or in an extended service set configuration to enable roaming. But essentially, you're just trying to put it out like a lantern hanging up at a campsite, just radiating out that signal in all directions. So as we look at, for example, a standard dipole antenna radiation pattern, we see, all right, so if the antenna's here in the center at the 2.4 gigahertz radiating out at 2 dBi, remember that dBi is how we measure antenna gain, we see that it has this nice lobe shape, and we have a very that's at the vertical axis, also known as the elevation plane. And then horizontally on the azimuth plane, we're nice and round, right? Everyone's just able to essentially get equal access from all directions before you get into, of course, anything like reflections or refractions or multipath or any kinds of issues like that. At the 5 gigahertz range, we have higher frequency, which means greater free path loss. So you'll notice we've doubled the dBi. The gain is stronger. And as such, at that higher frequency, you'll see it's a little more subject to the distortion of the signal. Even just the base of the antenna itself, that dipole antenna, tends to change that overall shape and cause it to look a little different. So again, what we're talking about here are the what's called a dipole antenna. This is a real standard one that we can put on a 3700 access point, and we can get black, gray, or white. Maybe you don't believe me. Let's take a quick look at this antenna. This is the Cisco documentation of the Aeronet dual band dipole antenna, what we were just looking at. And as we bring it on down, I just want you to see, we're not making this stuff up, all right? You can see that for any antenna, you can view the specifications. So, okay, this is dual band, 2.4 and 5 gigahertz. Here it is. Again, some key things here. How about, again, the peak gain at the 2.4 and 5 gigahertz? There's our dBi. Again, the elevation plane, and again, at the two different ranges. So again, understanding the degrees of access. Again, what's our vertical access specifically? Again, physically, what's its shape? What's its connector type? Remember that you have very specific connectors for antenna. They are very proprietary to how they function. This is an indoor office type of antenna. It's not going to work well outdoors. It's going to work well indoors. And there's that shape, right? Showing you the azimuth and elevation planes at the two different frequencies at which it can operate. Now that we're back here, let's focus on also comparing some other types of antenna. Because if, let's say, a dipole is kind of our standard unit of work, how do other antenna compare to that? Well, what we're looking at now is something that you would see in something like a 3700i, an integrated antenna. See, you don't see the antenna sticking out. Where's the antenna? It's on the inside. All right, so what does that mean? Well, it means that you don't have to worry about breaking off an antenna, and it means that it is not extensible. So therefore, it is, instead of being modular, it is very much here's a hard-coded configuration for how this particular access point functions. That has pros and cons, right? It means that you'll get it at a less expensive price, but you get something that is able to fit your bill if that meets your needs. So what we see here is that, again, it is dual band, operates at both frequencies. Here, again, is our azimuth plane, meaning horizontal. So we see it radiates out in roughly equal dimensions, but it's a little kooky looking, isn't it? And when we look at the vertical or elevation plane, we see that that's different as well. We see the elevation plane here has some significant differences in terms of how it looks. Certainly does not do a great job of radiating above or below it, and even in certain angles, some very odd shapes. Recognize that that is to be expected. You're trying to send signal out this thing. There's all sorts of circuitry and other things that are integrated in there as well besides the antenna. It doesn't have that nice smooth antenna shape sticking out, able to radiate in all directions with roughly equal proportions. So it makes sense that the very fact that it's embedded inside that box is going to change the way that it's able to push out that signal. instead of the kind of these standard local antenna, we may have a need for some antenna that can push out that signal a greater distance, that can manage more like still indoor, but maybe a larger space, right? Maybe a large open area. Maybe it's in a commons room, something like that, or even a warehouse. So we're going to have ceiling mount omnidirectional antenna. And these are going to operate at a higher gain and be able to send out more signal farther. But because of that, again, as we manage them, we're going to see that they have a little different shape. Now, again, these are going to be external antenna, and as such, they're going to have a nice, smooth radiation pattern. Omnidirectional, basically 360 all around, evenly distributed. But vertically, as we look at this plane, we see the elevation plane is much more distorted into this kind of flower shape that we're seeing right here. So this is what we're talking about, something along these lines, where you actually have your access point, right, positioned it, someplace convenient to access it and make sure that you plug in the cord to it. But then you're going to have a cord that then connects to the antenna itself, and then this will be hanging from the ceiling, right? That's the idea here. And so don't forget, whenever you have that cord, that cable is going to also account for some cable loss, generally measured. So if I've got 25 feet of cable, how much dB, right? How many decibels have I lost because of that process? Notice the nice smooth shape. Again, as we look at that, if I have a mast mount omnidirectional like what we just looked at here, we have this type of nice smooth azimuth plane orientation. But again, that really distorted vertical plane, all right? Because of the way that it is designed to send out that signal, it really, really does not work well on the horizontal axis, which is good in the sense that potentially you could have and you could have other antenna not conflicting on different floors of a building. That's how it's designed to work, is to really keep that signal, that wave, isolated from each other. As we increase to maybe even a 12 dBi mast mount omnidirectional, we've got an even greater strength here with that particular signal. Again, notice how flattened that elevation plane is here, but still a nice round configuration here. Very well distributed omnidirectional antenna.